This opening sets the tone fast. This isn't confusion, it's a compliance problem already on the court's radar. The attorney frames it clean. Missed structure, partial payments, and a pattern of selective obedience. That "I'll do what I want" line isn't just rhetoric, it's positioning.
So Ms. Baldwin, let me turn to you.
Thank you. So this is on for review regarding child support payments. We were before the court back on December 9th regarding a contempt action. The court set this out to February to review to ensure payments are being made. Where we are now is payments are not being made in conformity with what the court ordered. So the court ordered that she had to make essentially the base payment and then $75 towards the arrears beginning in December. We did file the case payment history that shows no payment was made for December, and $569 was paid in January. So if you, what the court ordered would have been $873 in regular child support payments over those 2 months and $150 in payments towards arrears. So that'd be a total of $1,023. She's paid $569. She's just not in compliance. So again, this sort of fits the pattern of I'll do what I want, when I want, how I want. So just paying essentially what she wants to. That's not what the court ordered. We're looking for her to be in compliance and to face attorney fees and a sanction for today.
Ms. Fairchild, and I did, Ms. Baldwin, receive the cover sheet of the payment history, looks like at least through February 3rd. Ms. Tiffany, what would you, or excuse me, Ms. Fairchild, I knew I was going to do that. What would you like?
Well, I did actually make a payment at the end of December, which was then processed at the beginning of January, and I made a payment in January. So I'm not sure why the child support payments are not being accredited. I did do them through my online bill pay through my bank. And I will be making the February payment this next coming week. So that should be credited in the month as well. I'm not sure why it's not on there, but
do you have some, and I'll let either party tell me this. The ledger that I had has the last payment being receipted in as January 9th. Has there been a payment since then?
There was two individual payments that were deducted from my bank account in January. One was the December and one was the January.
Yeah, I have January 6th and January 9, a total payment of $494.
A $494?
Mm-hmm.
There should be two payments of that amount for that total amount.
That's what I'm saying. Each payment. So the one that's receipted in January.
I'm sorry. So each payment is $494.
Correct.
Well, yes and no.
If each payment it's when child support received it and documented it, but one is the December payment, the other payment is the January payment. I unfortunately do not have any control over when child support receives that payment and then credits it.
I'm just trying, Ms. Baldwin, I'll turn to you. I'm just looking at the payment ledger that has those two entries, 1/6 and 1/9. And it says the total payment on each of those dates was $494.
Yes,
okay.
which is the base amount plus $75 additional.
All right. Hold on, Ms. Fairchild. Ms. Baldwin, go ahead.
Thank you. So even if she paid $494 in December and in January, the base that would have been the base payment for December, but that is not the base payment, the $75 for January. So the child support order changes. So essentially the court had ordered a reduction up through the end of 2025. And so her payments were actually less. Beginning in 2026, her payments are a little bit more. So her payments went from base payment from $419 to $454. And so the $454 plus 75 would be $529. So again, not meeting the base obligation that the court, even taking her at full value, not meeting that base obligation that the court has set.
Ms. Fairchild, were you aware that it had increased from 419 to 454?
I was not aware of this increase, and so I do not know. I was not aware of this increase. I paid the amount for which I was ordered, which was by the court, which was $419 plus $75. I've made that payment for December. I've made that payment for January. If there was an increase that I have not been aware or made notify of, I have no control over that. If there's simply an increase of less than even $50 for that change, which means that in 1 month there's only a $50 change that was made, less than that.
The judge steps in here not to argue, but to clarify authority. He goes straight to the source, the original order. That's a power move. It cuts through both narratives and anchors the case in documented law. Once that August order is referenced, everything shifts.
I do not believe that is reasons for any kind of penalties or contempt when there's many times that paperwork has to get processed and received, and then you've got to make changes to your online bill pay in order to have that changed.
How, Ms. Baldwin, help me out. How was that change made, or where was that change made? I'm just looking at the 419 amount.
Yep. So the court, if you look at the order in contempt, it does not say she pays like $495 or whatever she's claiming. It says pay your base amount, pay $75 towards arrears. If you look at the order of child support from August 18, 2025, that's where the change is. So that order very specifically says, page 3 of that order, hey, it's 419 through December 31st, 2025, beginning January of 2026, it's 454 is the base amount. So that
I was unaware of this, Your Honor.
standing.
I'm sorry, I was unaware of this, Your Honor. I thought I was making the payments correctly. For the February payment, I can add in the additional that was due for January. I was unaware of that change.
When are you making the February payment?
I'll make it by probably midweek next week so that it can still apply to the February ledger.
Okay. So the ledger that was printed out for me, 2/3, so Ms. Baldwin is correct. In the August 2025 temporary child support order, it does have that increase effective in January. The ledger from the state of Washington still lists the amount due as 419, so they will need to update that as well. But what I'm going to do, Ms. Fairchild, is set a review date for your February payment. What I need to see is that, contact the state, whoever, if you have a support enforcement officer that you're talking to make sure that they're aware of that increased amount. Now that you're aware of it, it is 454 as of January. So I want to see that you've made up that difference for your January payment. And I want to see that your February payment is correct, that it's 454 plus the $75.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you said you think you're going to make that next week?
I'm hoping to make it by midweek next week.
I mean, that's putting us up against the end of the month, and I'm concerned about it being receipted. It needs to be.
That's also an additional amount for.
Ma'am, here's the deal.
February, so I'm going to try to get that together.
Okay, well, I'm giving you a little bit of the benefit of the doubt right now. So it must be what I have just requested. The difference in January and the full February payment has to be receipted in so that I can review it. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
It must be receipted in by February 27th, which is the last working day, last business day of February.
Okay, Your Honor.
Okay.
And if I just want to clarify, when you say it has to be receipted in, essentially it has to show in the case payment history.
Yep. And that means, ma'am, you can't pay it on Friday the 27th.
I understand.
Okay.
I understand.
So let's set this for a review for your January makeup payment and your full February payment. What date would work for the parties?
I'm gonna do March, just that Friday, first Friday of March 6th. It's available for everyone.
Yeah, could you do March 6th at 8:45 via Zoom?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. We'll set you to my presentation docket for that. Ms. Baldwin, was there anything else you wanted to address today?
No, I think that's it. And then we can just address any further issues on the 6th.
Yeah, I'll reserve on any request for penalties, sanctions, attorney fees, depending on what happens between now and February 27th.
And then while we're here, would Ms. Fairchild, would she spell her last name? And then if it's been changed in Odyssey, then I can just make sure our pleadings conform with that.
Fairchild, Fairchild.
Okay, and the only capital letter is the F?
That is correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and it is changed in our system now as well.
The final segment locks everything into accountability mode. The deadline isn't just about payment, it's about proof. The judge makes it clear. If it's not recorded, it doesn't exist. That's the standard now. Setting the review date isn't routine, it's pressure. It creates a checkpoint where excuses won't survive. Even the warning about not paying on the last day shows how tightly the court is controlling the outcome. Then comes the strategic hold on sanctions. That's leverage. The threat is active but delayed, giving her one last chance to correct course. This isn't closure, it's a setup. By the time that next hearing arrives, the case won't be about confusion anymore. It will be about whether she followed direct, unmistakable instructions.